Oh, shit. I didn't. Okay. And we're back once again for the next episode of A Conversation with Kely. Episode, who knows at this point, 100 something, whatever. I don't fucking know.
Too many to count.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, Survivor 43 has started, Allie. It's already started. It's crazy to think about because I feel like people are still getting over like Big Brother 24 and how great of a finish that was. And now we have Survivor starting up already. There's been 2 episodes since it has started. But as always, I am here with my lovely and beautiful co-host, Allie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I've had a pretty chill day.
Yes.
I went for a little walk and just kind of like hung out today, watched some more Big Brother because I'm trying to finish the episodes.
Yeah, so we can do our podcast for that finally.
Yes. But other than that, just been pretty chill, nothing too crazy.
That's good. We love to hear that. I had a pretty chill day myself. Went to see a movie, Bros. Good movie. Recommend it. Very fun. Good representation and things like that. But now we're here to talk about Survivor, but we're not alone because for once, we actually, it's been forever since we had a guest on one of these videos, but we do in fact have a guest with us this time around. You always love her insights. She is an org legend. We always enjoy getting to hear her insight on basically anything, but especially when it comes to Survivor. Here she is, the wonderful Miss Julia Rowe.
It's good to be here. New era of Conversation with Kely. Drop the first 100 episodes, keep the 3. I'm excited to be back.
No, literally, drop the 100, keep the whatever episode name we're on. No, Julia, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Keeping busy, playing games, and so excited to be back talking more Survivor.
Yes. I think the last time we had you on actually was for Survivor 41, which you saw in that intro. But without getting into too much, Julia, what did you think of these first 2 episodes?
I was very pleasantly surprised. Obviously, 41 and 42 were cookie cutter seasons of each other when it came to the twists, the advantages, things like that.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see, obviously, some of the continuity between these seasons, but to also see them break from the mold of the last couple seasons they've set. I also obviously really enjoyed having a 2-hour episode and then an 1.5-hour episode with just the single eliminations. It really, really let us get to know people as characters, as players, and I really enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah, I was going to touch upon that right away. I think right off the bat, CBS has made a really good decision here in having the first 2 episodes both be like over an hour long. I feel like a big problem, not really in 42. I think 42, we got to know everyone really well, but 41, this was really a problem for me where it was very hard to invest in people that we just haven't seen enough of. And through these 2 episodes, we've gotten to a point where, okay, now we kind of know everyone. And moving forward, if they continue to do the hour-long episodes or shorter than that, I think it's going to bode very well for this season. So I really enjoyed these first 2 episodes quite a bit. Allie, what did you think of these first 2?
Yeah, I actually liked that they were like both longer ones too, just because, like I said, like we got to see more of like each person and I got to know them a little bit more. I mean, there's obviously a few that we haven't seen as much yet, but so far it's off to a strong start. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, not a lot of insight if your name is Cassidy, but other than that, we were getting to know these people very well.
Hopefully she's not purpled.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to go ahead and get started here, starting off with the first episode. So, of course, we start off getting introduced to our new castaways, and Jeff asked a question to Janine and how she discovered it and says she watched it with her dad when he immigrated from China and now has a PhD. James says he's watched from the beginning. Noelle started when she was 10 years old. enrolled and applied and then lost her leg after doing so at 19 years old. And it helped her realize the importance in life and not wanting to regret it. And the way Survivor has evolved is the reason she has been continually showing up and trying to apply for the show because of how much it welcomes different people. I saw something on Twitter where people are saying they need to cut back on a lot of these like backstories and like sob stories with people. And I will agree for some people, but I think someone like Noelle, it's essential to get to know her. It's essential to understand like her backstory. So I will agree that I think there's some people where it's like, we didn't really need to see this. Like we can see like the fun gameplay. We don't really need to see a lot of the sob stories. But for Noelle, I think it was essential to getting to know her. And I think that's what immediately like draws you into her, like right off the bat. So yeah.
I really love her so far. And I have high hopes for her. I definitely see her making it pretty far.
She was my winner pick preseason.
It's definitely one of mine.
I agree with Kevin, what you had to say. Like, there are definitely some people where it's essential to hear their story. Like Jesse, like that is foundational to who he is. Same thing with Noelle. I think to understand them as people, you need to have that context of where they came from and how they grew up. But I do think Survivor has made this push since 41.
Right.
In seasons prior to it, you would never hear people in Survivor talking about Survivor. There would be almost no references. I think it really started with like season 30 of people starting to do that, but you never heard people like talk about Survivor. It wasn't very meta. But I think since this new era, they've really made a push of like, okay, our target audience are these super fans. Like and I think these super fans, yes, we love to get to know the people, but we also really like those strategic elements. So I think when we spend this much time on everyone's story, it kind of draws away and the strategy becomes much more like simple and streamlined, which is good. Yeah. But sometimes we miss the spice. At least I do.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. This is more a problem with episode 2, I would say, than episode 1. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I think for Noelle was definitely like essential. So everyone's divided into different tribes. We have Bessie, Baka, and Coco. They're given their first reward challenge. It involves 2 players racing down the beach, retrieving and bringing back 2 heavy wooden crates. 2 other players are then going to run back into the water, haul a boat back carrying more crates, and the 2 remaining players are then going to use their crates to form a queue. That one tribe member will go on a crane to retrieve a flint. Whoever gets it first earns their supplies, which they're doing the same thing they did last season with like the meager supplies and things like that. And they're once again not going to have any food. We'll have to earn it every single day. I wasn't expecting them to still do that. I thought that was going to stop at 42. And I think it's something that just Jeff and people like that really like it's more intense that way. And it is, but I do feel like after a while, it's going to get really old because people are going to know, oh, we're going on island. We're not going to eat much. Like we got to prepare for it. It's not going to be as like exciting to watch. So if I did have a small complaint already, there are too many things that have carried over from 41 and 42 here that I thought we weren't going to see again because these people have watched 41 and 42. 42, you could do it because they did it back to back, but these people have watched 41 and 42. They literally reference it in the episodes. So the fact that like they're still doing certain twists again, I don't really like it that much because I feel like it's going to be so easily gamed. And especially when like you try to incorporate into like the formula of Survivor, it's like it's not even going to be special anymore. So I wasn't huge on them doing that again. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to agree really quickly. I think one of the most exciting parts of Survivor in the past is like you don't know what's going to happen and expect the unexpected. So when there's certain things like the sweat or savvy that carry over, it kind of makes it a little boring. Like I think that was like the one time I found myself like, okay, I can like play on my phone a bit, like I know what this is, sort of thing.
Yeah, just a little too much, I think, carried over that we just didn't really need to see. But ultimately, Vessi does win this challenge. Lindsay feels losing this challenge is a wake-up call, knowing how ready everyone needs to be for whatever ends up getting thrown at them. And Allie's going to talk about what happens afterwards.
All right. So on the Vessi tribe, everyone celebrates winning and they introduce themselves. And Cody says winning the first challenge sets a tone of camaraderie. He says during the pandemic, he started watching Survivor and realized he has the tools to not just compete, but to win.
Yeah, I will say first impressions of Cody was not very high. I was not big on him. I found him to be I just found him very like boisterous and not really someone you enjoy watching all that much. But I will say my opinion did change in episode 2. But first off, I was like not really digging Cody.
I'm literally like in the same boat there.
Yeah, he just seems like that kind of like alpha male type character that we see a lot, and I just wasn't super invested in. So Cody was not a favorite of mine right off the bat.
Dwight wants to build a shelter, but no one seems to have any idea how to use a machete, and everyone is struggling.
This was so funny to me. Like, they're all trying to figure it out, and they're all just doing it together. There's usually, like, that one person, like, 41, you had, like, say, Nasir, 42, you had Roxroy. There's nobody like that on the Vessi tribe.
I think 2 things, like, you have to at least have a working knowledge of when you're coming into Survivor, especially like everyone here is a fan, at least to some extent. You need to be able to like have the basic idea of what you would do for a shelter.
Yes.
And at least an idea of how you would start fire.
Oh, yeah.
And it shocks me that there's still people in this day and age of Survivor that don't know how to do either of those 2 things.
Yeah, and it's not like hard to do. Like, you just need to keep practicing at it and you'll get it. Like, it's not it's not difficult.
Noelle is very happy to be on the winning tribe, and she felt it made it a lot easier to be around camp.
Yes.
She feels very good with Justine, with how similar they are in age and how smart and determined she is, and feels they will work well together. Which I'm here for.
Oh yeah. I was very excited for those 2 linking up, even though it's not exactly the longest alliance, but we'll get into that.
Cody decides to make a 3 with Nneka and Jesse. He is wary about Justine because of her being a sales rep with how manipulative they are known to be, and however, he is also a salesperson and wants to make sure he doesn't tell people, but will be going after the person that isn't an effort to hide that persona of himself.
I was just like, this is like so fucking extra. Like, why are you not working with this person that is in a similar position? Like, I just didn't understand his logic here.
They could have been like really good together.
Yeah.
Cody gives me very Brian Heidick, but like not as if like Brian Heidick and Fabio had a love child, like I feel like that would be Cody, because he has like the same like smarmy energy, I feel, but the same like doofus energy of Fabio.
Very much so.
There was no need to do that. I mean, obviously it maybe have played a factor coming later on in the season, but
I think it definitely did.
there was no real reason to end up doing that. It seems like he's very, very much projecting.
Yeah. Just very
very. Jesse likes the both of them, but he wants to just sit back and see who is linking up early on, and he feels he's in a good position with the 3, but then also having Justine and Noelle wanting to pull him in. Cody and Jesse bond over tattoos a little bit. Jesse talks about some of his gang-related tattoos he had as a teenager that since he has removed, they later share these tattoos with the rest of the tribe.
Yeah, I mean, this is really what starts like the Cody and Jesse bond is through them like sharing tattoos and things like that, which seems like it's going to be like one of the most important duos of the season, at least the way the show is editing it. It seems that way.
Yeah.
Living.
Yeah.
I was kind of like iffy on Jesse at first, but he's not that bad.
I was too. I didn't know like if he was really going to fit in, but he honestly is turning out to be, I think, one of my favorites. I really like seeing Jesse a lot in the story that and like the upbringing that he's had, and like he seems to be bonding really well on his tribe. So I like Jesse quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
I do as well.
Yeah.
We get a little more with his background when he talks about his family that had bad addictions and a terrible upbringing of no college and several of them in prison, and he ended up in a gang and went to juvenile hall at 17. When he was in there, he took a GED test and he got the highest score they had ever seen, and this got him to turn his life around and was eventually accepted at Berkeley, where he now has a major in political science. He hopes to show his family that they can do whatever they want, but also wants to be the voice for juvenile kids that they can also turn their better themselves, and like he did.
And what a great story for Jesse, like generally, just one of the most interesting stories, I think, within this cast. And that's one of the reasons I gravitated towards him early on.
Yeah, it was a really important story.
Oh, yeah.
Justine says she grew up doing a lot of things that are atypical to young girls, such as riding dirt bikes, and she knows coming into Survivor, she thinks she could be able to build a fire. But everyone is struggling to get it lit, and they are all able to successfully build a shelter that immediately comes crashing down and then starts the flame, which quickly goes out.
This tribe is just a mess in terms of fires. Like, don't rely on any of these people to build your fires. It's not going to work out.
They're so entertaining, though.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't believe the whole thing just, like, fell over.
Everyone is struggling to build a fire again, and after hours of attempting to do so, Justine successfully ignites one.
Yeah, so that's really everything going on within the Vessi tribe. We're going to get into the Baka tribe, which ends up being probably the most important of this episode, at least. So we start off with Gabler. He says that the tribe is composed of a lot of personalities, stronger people, and overall positivity. However, being older, he feels he's on the outs and has to be careful with how he starts his gameplay. And Gabler is the kind of person where I'm like, where did they find this guy? Like, he's so different from like what you see within shows like this, and I'm very interested in seeing how he does within the show. I don't see him going particularly far, but what do you guys think of Gabler?
I love Gabler. I think my favorite part about the cast of this season, it's like 41 and 42. Everyone again was like kind of like very sob story sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Everyone was. And then you get this cast. And yes, there are people with like very inspirational stories. Yeah. But then you have like Cody, you have Gabler, who are like characters and personalities that you think if I had never seen Survivor and like started watching them, like, oh, they could have played like 15 years ago. And I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it very much reflects, I think, some of like the old school casting choices of like, they're going to be funny and they're probably going to do some stupid shit and people will probably like it. And I very much enjoy that because that's something I really like out of like the older seasons of Survivor that I've been craving.
See, I think that's why for me, not watching those older seasons, that's why I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he here? So yeah, that's very interesting to.
I actually really like him too. He's hilarious. Like pre-season, I thought he was just going to be like this fun, entertaining guy, and he honestly, I honestly don't know how far he can make it, but he honestly is just
he's making it
very
super far.
He's very entertaining, and he's such a quirky guy, and he's just so fun and iconic.
Yeah,
we'll definitely get into it later, but that thing he found, just saying, they don't go to another tribal. Gabler,
That's true.
Gabler got merge boot. That's what I'm saying.
That's true. That is a good point. But so as a result of failing the first challenge, they do have to do this Savvy or Sweat task, which we talked about earlier. The Savvy task is the same brain teaser, but the Sweat has been changed to 2 players digging up and retrieving supplies. They decide they're going to go with the Savvy task, which I thought this was interesting. Sammy immediately is volunteering for the Sweat, which Owen doesn't really like because he likely would also volunteer, and he's worried about how much scheming and strategy could be going on without him. But they do decide to go with Savvy. This task involves moving 2 bones to go from the largest hole number using a chalkboard to experiment. They seem to be struggling for a while. Sammy really wants to do the sweat challenge because he wanted to hide his intellect and how good he is at puzzles. And they can't really have an organized camp if he's trying to hide his strength. This is one of like 3 things that Sammy's trying to hide. He's trying to hide that he's like secretly a genius. He's trying to hide that he's a pet creamer. And he's trying to hide that he's like 19 years old. And I mean, it seems like at the moment he has like all his ducks in a row when it comes to that, but I'm not sure how this is going to work for Sammy. But we will see, especially because their way they end up completing the puzzle is basically through Sammy, because he does successfully complete it. He also decides to tell everyone he's 22 in an effort to cover himself, which I mean, I guess makes sense. Especially when you take in consideration that like you had like, you know, JD and Xander and people like that who, you know, and even Swati last season. And I remember the big thing people were saying is like, this person needs to be older when they play Survivor. The older you are, the more knowledge you have. And I feel like that's kind of Sammy's strategy, but I don't know if it's really going to work for him. I feel like it's pretty easy to tell Sammy is not as old as he says he is. So I don't know if it's going to work.
He actually isn't terrible. Like, he was another person I was just kind of like there with preseason. Yeah. But he's not actually that bad. But I do worry for him.
He's very fun to watch.
He is. I definitely worry for him, like, upcoming episodes, though.
I do, too.
I agree. Obviously, orgs are much different than actual Survivor. But just as a young person who plays these as well, there definitely can be a perception surrounding, like, younger people when it comes to playing these social strategy games. Because, like, they're... They don't have the level of maturity or the life experiences, things like that. Yeah. So I understand his decision. I just want to see how it plays out moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to make that joke. You got to look in the private chat.
Let me see.
It's just I had to. It just felt too fitting. But no. So Owen lets Gabler know if he hears his name, he will tell him. He feels the people have been guarded and it's frustrating. He feels this may hurt them later on in the chance with how little strategy is going on, which might be the case. That's all we'll say. It might be the case. You might be onto something there. So we see Ellie, Mariah, and Janine are weaving fronds. They talk about their families, and Ellie lets them in on the fact that in addition to her 18-year-old half sister, she has one full sister, but she passed away in 2020. She was a hero and meant everything to her. And then there was a major trauma, and she dealt with it through using drugs. She tried helping her through the experience, but it put a strain on their relationship. And the last conversation she ever had with her was about Survivor, and she told her how proud of her she was. She then died 6 months later of an overdose. Very tragic to see. Something like this, again, I think is important. I think it is definitely important to focus on that. But after sharing this, she feels good with both of them, says she wants women to work together within the game. And, well, I don't know if
we'll talk more about it later, but
what happens later, we'll talk about it. But Sammy...
I will say, though, I do like Ellie, though, like, because I did have high hopes for her preseason.
Yeah.
And she seems like a very leader type.
She does. She definitely does.
She's my winner pick.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I can definitely see that. She has a pretty big edit in this episode, and she's been featured a lot. I think Ellie is someone who she definitely seems like she's gonna go far. I just don't know if right now she's making the best decisions for her game. We'll just really have to see how that plays a factor later on. But after sharing this, she feels good with both of them. Sammy then talks about how he wants people not to know that he's a pet cremator, which we already talked about. He also is able to build a fire quickly for the tribe. So a lot of good things going on with Sammy. Gabler feels he's like a pretty easy target, wants to connect with everyone, feels that there's going to be somebody teaching someone what to do, bonds with Ellie over metal. So Ellie really seems to be bonding with a lot of people here. And I think that is something that is really good for her. But that's pretty much...
another thing I also kind of compared, like, she kind of looks a little bit like Michelle Fitzgerald, in my opinion.
I can see that. But that's everything with Baka. We're going to talk about Coco here, which I think is easily the most promising of the three tribes. When you really think about the people that are on this tribe and who it's comprised of, I think Coco, out of the three tribes, has the most potential to go far.
Oh, yeah. They receive the same task. They decide to go with Sweat, knowing they aren't the strongest with brain teasers.
Right, which I thought was really smart.
I think so too. And then Ryan and Geo both dig. Ryan talks about how the sweat challenge makes him think about having to think outside the box growing up. He was born early with slight cerebral palsy, and it affected him mentally as well as not being able to walk. And he was told by doctors he would never walk, but his mom took him to physical therapy for 4 years, and he developed walking later in life, and it gave him the ability for his brain to function the way it does today. And they are able to find the supplies within only 30 minutes.
Yeah, which I mean, Ryan's another one where I feel like it's pretty essential to like tell his story.
Yeah, I like him. Like I like that they told that story in that episode.
Yeah, definitely.
I know some people aren't the highest on Ryan. I really like Ryan. I think he's great.
Me too.
I think especially in like this format of like the 6 tribes, probably not gonna have a tribe swap. The strength does matter when it comes to challenges, which obviously he's the strongest competitor.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cassidy wants to start strategizing. She goes to Carla and asks her how she is feeling about everything, and Cassidy tells us she wants to play like a fox, being very sneaky and knows playing a loud in-your-face game isn't ideal, because women can't get away with that in the way men can. There are a lot of loud voices on the tribe, and it will allow her to stay behind the scenes.
So here's the thing with this. On one hand, I'd be like, oh, this is great. Cassidy is forming this 3. On the other hand, this is like the only scene she's gotten in like 2 episodes. I really don't know what that says about Cassidy, if she's going to get far or if this alliance is going to be successful. Because right now it's like, oh yeah, Cassidy's here.
See, she definitely seems like someone who wants to stick with the women.
Yeah.
That's what Erica got. I think although Ellie is my winner pick, if I'm going like just based off how I like to read the edgic, I am interested in seeing what happens. And I do think the winner might come from Coco, just because I think they have the most, even though they hadn't gone to tribal, I think their relationships were the most fleshed out in that first tribal. And I like to look at the complex tribe theory. So who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, honestly, like if she doesn't get purpled, she's honestly one of my winner picks.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we'll see. Lindsay is pulled into the conversation, and it seems the 3 of them are planning to stick together. And that they can trust James as well. They pull him in as a number.
Which is so smart. Like you need those 4 votes, and I like that they already recognize that.
Oh yeah. Lindsay always hopes she could have a girls' alliance and feels at the end of the day the 3 of them will keep each other alive in the game. So hopefully a girls' alliance can actually stick together.
I think these 3 have a better chance, but we'll see. They also haven't been to tribal. Spoilers. So we'll see.
True. James feels his biggest strength in this game will be his ability to connect with just about everybody. He grew up in Philly, and he learned how to play chess, and he was the only black kid within the tournaments. He loves how much all the women want to work with him because of how great it will be to make other people feel like they have the upper hand. And he wants to be a king but move like a pawn.
I love James. I think James is going to be a character that is very fun to watch this season. I'm excited to see how he maneuvers between all the other relationships. Give us more James. I really like him on this tribe.
Agreed. I wasn't super high on him preseason, but I definitely like what he's shown the last couple episodes.
Oh yeah. This cast is honestly strong. Like I don't dislike any of them.
Yeah, no, there's no one I don't like. Well, at this point, I didn't like Cody, but later on, I like Cody.
Carla and Geo bond over being married, both gay and both being Latino. They also talk about how hard it is to face challenges as part of the LGBTQ community with how unaccepting their families are. Geo wants to play with his heart and for people to see the kind of person he is, and he feels it will help others open up about themselves so they can feel more connected and work together, which I like this moment a lot.
Yeah, I think these two will be an interesting... I don't know if they're going to be a duo, because especially what we see in episode 2, but I did like seeing these two connect.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe they'll have some kind of deal. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Carla says that coming into this game, she thought no one would want to work with her, but now she feels connected with everyone. And at this point, her and Geo and Ryan are solid, but she's also working with James, Lindsay, and Cassidy, and she very much sees herself in the middle. She fears she would be perceived as weak with challenges, but feels it's hard to trust everyone when the tribe itself is so scrambled at the moment.
Carla, I think, is someone that I am very high on just from this episode. I do see her going really far. I hope she goes far because I think she has a lot of potential. Carla definitely is someone to look out for. But that's everything going on with the tribes. Now we get to the boat, or like the summit that we get, which is another thing that carried over from last season that I wasn't expecting to see again. There is a bit of a change here where basically each one of them get to pick who's going to go. Carla volunteers for Coco, Gabler volunteers for Baca, and Dwight for Bessie. So that part is pretty much the same. Basically, they make their way to this giant rock. We get this moment with Carla where she talks about how, you know, she was growing up poor and she's a proud daughter of like 2 Mexican immigrants. And, you know, she ended up pursuing education, got into like UC Berkeley, and now she's both street and book smart and wants to challenge that in the game. That line alone kind of makes me feel like Carla's going to go far with her really emphasizing like, I'm both book smart and street smart. I think that's something we're going to see a lot with her. Ultimately, they all decide basically the way this works this time around is it's not a private decision. They make this decision together, which I like that, actually. It's a nice little change from how 41 and 42 did it. And based on how many choose to risk their vote, only one of them are going to win the advantage. Ultimately, they all decide to draw. We see Carla doesn't risk her vote. Dwight seemingly takes the advantage, and then Gabler ends up losing his vote, but that's actually not what happens. We see Dwight is the one who loses his vote. Cody doesn't trust this story like at all because of how like implausible some of it sounds, where I was just like, what the fuck? Like, Dwight's being honest here. This is another not liking Cody moment. But losing later on, he finds nothing and that he has lost his vote. Gabler, meanwhile, is telling everyone and their mother about the fact that he got the advantage, and they're all like so happy about it. It turns out to be an idol for only the first 2 tribals that he attends, which it's very important to note that the first 2 that he attends, not the first 2 of the season. So yeah, that's something that I think was very good for Gabler. I think he very much needed it. We do get into the Muni challenge after this. Anything we want to say about the return of the summit? How do we feel?
I'm just going to quick say I liked how they reworked it from last season. I like that. I didn't feel like it took up a big chunk of that episode. Like, I didn't feel like that was the episode. It was just a part of it. I also liked it added more of that element of like, you got to like lie to someone's face potentially. If you're not off your own, which again adds just another like strategic element to it, which again, I enjoyed. I think it was a nice rework of that twist.
Yeah, but I also hope we don't see it every single fucking week because that'll be boring. But yeah, let's talk about the Muni challenge without getting into what the challenge is because we're kind of short on time here. Allie, what happens in this challenge?
So with this challenge, Coco ends up getting there first, and they choose the maze. They do successfully get the ball in, and they win immunity. Bessie gets their second and chooses a straight shot, and they also are able to successfully get the ball in and are the second tribe to win immunity, sending Baca to tribal.
Which I think was easily the most interesting outcome because Baca was like not thinking about game at all, and now suddenly they have to. So getting into Baca here, Gabler feels that he's going to be a potential target due to him being responsible for losing the challenge, and he does something very interesting. He literally talks to the tribe about how, oh, I came to this game with 3 goals. One was like to learn about himself through hardship. Another one was like how he wanted to play a great game and then to win immunity. But he doesn't want to hide hide behind it. Instead, he wants to play his shot in the dark, and he feels with him being part of the loss, he should be the one that's at risk tonight. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, legitimately.
He pulled off the successful Zayn Knight. He did it. He pulled off. He is what Zayn Knight wishes he was. He said, you know what? You can vote me out. I'm not even going to cast a vote tonight. And they all said, no, Gabler. Don't do that. Don't do that, Gabler. We want you here. Brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely worked for him, but at the time I was like, what are you doing? So
Strategic
everyone
icon.
seems confused as to what his motivation is for doing this. Ellie doesn't want to vote him out because of how hard he does work, and she hopes to use her skills as a therapist as a way to hopefully get him to come to his senses a bit more. And out of nowhere, she throws out Mariah here, which I was like, no, we're not going for Mariah. That is not happening. But Owen talks about how because of how
I do get her reasoning, but like you just made an alliance with her.
But also, like, Mariah was not bad in the challenge. Like, if you watch it back, when they were crossing the balance beam, Mariah was like the person that helped them do that. So like, I don't think Mariah was like this weak challenge threat that like they saw her as. So it really was just very random what ended up happening there, from Ellie going from I'm going to form this alliance to then targeting somebody within her alliance. I just didn't really know how to feel about that. Owen talks about how much of everyone was focused at the prospect of being on the season and very little strategy. They are now pretty much all scrambling. Ellie goes to Janine, says although she wanted to work with all the girls, they need the guy's strength, and Gabler has an immunity idol. And while Mariah is strong, they do need to stick together. Mariah goes to talk to Sammy. She tells him how much trust she has in him and hopes he wants to work with her. They both agree how much they like Ellie and Janine, and that if they can all get on the same page this vote, it would really help. He does throw out Owen as the person he has talked to the least. So yeah, Mariah and Owen are the names out. It's not ideal. These are people I really like preseason.
I know.
But Mariah says that though they are no longer a Kumbaya tribe, she feels good about this vote with both her girls and through vibing with Sammy. She feels this could be an easy vote for Owen, with Gabler being too much of a risk due to various advantages, which I understand that. You don't have to go for Gabler, but I think Owen would have been fine to go for. Sammy talks to Ellie about Owen, fearful of how smart he could be down the line. Ellie's not interested in this. She just wants to prioritize tribe strength. Mariah's talking to the girls, feels voting out Owen is the best plan, especially if they pull in Sammy. They then will have majority if they do lose again. Janine feels Mariah is the weakest on the tribe, but she's worried about her targeting her because of how easy it could be for the guys to pick off the women, which seems to be possibly a big narrative of this season. I hope it's not a big narrative of this season, but we're hearing a lot about like the guys want to stick together, the women are in these alliances. Like I'm just hoping this is not guys versus girls, because that's not something I want to see.
Again, that's the difficulty with this format. Yeah. Is because Jeff Probst had said in countless interviews, like, this is the format. It's 3 tribes of 6, no swaps.
Yeah.
And when you know coming into Survivor, that's the format, your idea of what you need to do and what you want to do switches. Yeah. Because I think in a different situation, when you don't know what's happening, I think Sammy could have gone.
Oh yeah.
I think something different would happen. I think Mariah would for sure be there. But when we're gonna be here for 6 rounds, 5 rounds,
right?
You need to think about, I can't go to tribal every round, and it sucks. Right. And it usually leads to women going home very early, which I don't like ever.
Yeah, no, and that's something that I'm definitely worried about in these first 2 episodes. I'm just hoping that this doesn't become like, let's just pick off all the women or because I just don't want to see that. That's not exciting to watch at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so Ellie is weighing out all of her options. She feels that Mariah isn't the strongest physically, but wants to stick with both of them. And with Owen, feels that he could be a big threat down the line. She's also aware her and Janine pretty much hold all of the power for who goes home. We're going to get into the tribal. Allie, you don't really need to talk about all the questions that people were asked. Just talk about what happens at tribal.
All right. Sammy's asked what life is like at camp, and he says he feels the vibe was harmonious. Harmonious. They already believe that they would be safe. Trying to find all the. Owen also believed this because no one wanted to put a target on themselves by looking too strategic. Mariah feels, despite not winning this challenge, she feels like they all did because of the fact they all gave their best effort. Gabler feels he needs to be held accountable for how bad he did, but Ellie feels that that shouldn't be a factor within the game. It should be an individual decision based on who everyone made stronger connections with. And then ultimately, in the end, strength wins as Mariah is sadly the first person voted out by a vote of 6-1.
I was very upset to see this. I thought Mariah was going to be a big character this season. I saw coming in, like, she seemed very energetic. She seemed very excited to play. And we don't even really get to see her much. And it sucks, but unfortunately, like, you need a first boot, and it's Mariah, but I wish it wasn't.
Also, something that like surprised me. Again, I'm like someone who likes to look at the editing and things like that. Yeah. Usually, in people's boot episodes, they get some more exposure.
Right.
You know, like in 41, I think we all knew when Voce was going because he gave some long speech at Tribal Mode.
Oh yeah.
Voce's out. Voce's gone. So. For Mariah not getting the most content, I feel like in this first episode and then leaving was pretty surprising to me because obviously like they usually like to highlight the people going home.
But I thought it was going to be, I thought for sure it was like Gabler or Owen was going to go. Yeah. I did not think Mariah was going, especially because like she didn't really have a lot of content in this episode. So I think it was honestly pretty disappointing to see her go here. But you know, it's like, also
she was literally someone I had like high hopes for that would make it super far, maybe even win. Like I did not expect her to go this early. So I'm like,
I also didn't expect Julia to go this early, but you guys should definitely no I did we literally just talked about it in the chat. Oh, Julia's here.
I accidentally hit the hang up button. It was an accident, I promise.
Oh no, okay. I thought you were just like abruptly.
No. My computer, my trackpad clicks on its own sometimes, and I hover too close to the leave button on accident.
Well, with that said, it's also very sad to see Julia leave early. We were hoping to have her on for the entire thing, but unfortunately, we're crunched on time. But Julia, before you leave, you can go ahead and plug your stuff.
Oh my God, that's me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I like to see Survivor content, and most of the people watching this will obviously be posting Survivor content. I don't even know. What do I do? Nothing really. Follow me on Instagram at Julia Rowe 17. Keep up with A Conversation with Kely.
Yes.
Great people. Yes. Wonderful. I will also be keeping up with them. So if you want to be like me, do that.
Also, keep up with Julia's game BB Disney, which she hosts with a bunch of amazing people.
BB Disney, we love it.
Yes.
Be on the lookout for something very epic soon, hopefully. But yeah, that's me. It was great to be here. Sad it had to end so soon, but I'm excited to finish watching this once I have more time.
Thank you. All right.
Well, and obviously, we will ask you back again.
Yes. We'll try to get you on for an episode that you can be on the entire time. To make up for this one.
Thank you both.
Yes. All right. Great to have you on, Julia.
Thanks.
Bye. Love you, Julia. All right.
Okay.
I literally said in the chat, I'm like, Kevin will not go on as many tangents. And what happened? I went on tangents. So this is why we're here. But no, we still have one more episode to talk about here. Episode 2. We
still have to talk about the last part though.
Oh, yeah.
In her retrospective, she says that it's heartbreaking to be going, but she is proud of how she played. She feels she played too much like it was her first time when she should have played like it was her second. She loves the bond she made and proud of how they played and hope they all get far in the game.
Yeah. So again, very sad to see Mariah go here. I really thought that she was going to go far. Just second chances. Bring Mariah back because I really feel like because it's not just that she left early. I feel like in terms of what Julia said, like we just did not get to see much of Mariah. We didn't get to see her play to her fullest potential. And I just feel like this is someone who has a lot more to give within the game. So I'm excited to see, hopefully, if she gets a second chance at some point, because I think Mariah definitely could go really far. Getting into episode 2 here, we do start off with Baka. Owen apologized to everyone for being so anxious, but knowing his name was coming up felt fear-inducing. Owen feels this was a wild night, especially with having a vote to his name. It was nerve-wracking. He thanks all of them for keeping him and for being honest with him. And proving that they are in fact trustworthy. I think it was good for Owen to do this because he knew that his name could potentially be in the line of fire. So I think it was smart of him to just be like, hey, just so you guys know, like, I'm not going to be like, as big of a threat as you think I am moving forward. Like, I want to work with you guys. I think it was good for Owen to really do that here because I don't see, if they go to tribal again, I don't see Owen going. I think somebody else would go. I think Owen's in an okay spot if they were to go to tribal again. But we'll see. So Ellie also helps, feels this solidified trust. And Gabler says he trusted them enough. He didn't play as idol. Gabler talks about how much work they all need to do, having been so focused on getting to know each other. They then talk about cooking some worms. All of a sudden, this horrible storm just starts raining down on all of them. So yeah, this was like completely out of nowhere, but that's something that always you got to prepare for when you're on the island. But the next morning they search for food. Sammy talks about how rough of a night that it really was. And Gabler says that they weren't prepared for that storm in any way. He's proud of himself with how much he's already pushing for his physical boundaries, but also is really thrown for how many obstacles that they can't really prepare for, which is something that I think Gabler just wasn't really expecting. He wasn't expecting how different things were going to be and what's really thrown at him. And Owen's unsure if Gabler's worth keeping with how much it doesn't seem he's already running out of steam and is unsure if he'll be able to sustain himself out there. Gabler says he's 20 to 30 years older than some of his teammates, but he doesn't want them to look at him like he's dead weight, and he's starting to feel like a liability. And I'm just sitting here like, why didn't you go for him last round? Because if you really thought that he was this liability and not this like big.
I mean, yeah, I get that. They could have just went for him last round, but I mean, he seems like a strong player. He just needs to he's just going through a lot.
Yeah, but he literally is like running out of steam here.
I know.
So like, I don't know. I just feel like they should have just like thought twice about what they were going to do, because it doesn't seem like their decision is really helping them in retrospect.
Yeah.
But I guess we will just have to see how that ends up going. Yeah, so Owen wants people to not see his curmudgeon side. He hopes to keep that under wraps as much as possible. He's trying to bring water back to camp. I thought this was really funny. Like, everyone else is hunting. He's like, these people don't like water, but he's trying to bring water over. I thought that was a really funny moment for Owen.
That was so funny.
So Ellie feels that the next vote is going to be super tough, and the tribal will force them to all be in game mode. Janine is feeling super close with her, but is unsure who they need to bring in as their third, either Sammy or Owen. Ellie sees them like her children. Sammy is her firstborn, who came up very independent and strong-willed, and Owen is like her second, where he's older but needs a lot of attention and is more high maintenance in that way. I thought this was a really fun segment for Ellie, her having to choose between the two of them. And based on the edit, I don't really know who they end up choosing. I feel like we'll see more of that later on.
Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, I do really like the Ellie Janine duo.
I do too. And I hope they do end up going far, because I think there's a lot of potential there. Janine is unsure what game the guys are playing. Ellie feels that they aren't talking much game at all, but feels it has opened the door for both of them to be strategic incognito. Sammy feels they need to look out for each other in the event they do head to tribal, because the two girls will stick together until the end of the game. So he feels it's in his best interest to work with Gabler and Owen, and they need to look out for each other. He doesn't like the idea of gender versus gender alliances, but with how close the women are, he feels they need to work together, because they would be stupid to lose to that. I'm just thinking, why not just like pull yourself into this 3? Like, I don't understand why he can't just be like, hey, Owen or Gabler, let's pull ourselves in there and we can try to work together. I think Sammy's trying to play all sides, and it seems to be working out for him. I just feel like Sammy's doing a lot, and I don't know if it's worth everything that he's doing. We will really just have to see how it does turn out. When it comes to Baka, I think things are getting a bit more interesting. I think they were really kind of like thrown for a loop last tribe, where it's like, oh shit, now we got to go into game mode. And I think everybody is overplaying now as a result. So yeah, what do you want to say about Baka?
Oh my gosh. They're a very messy tribe.
Very much so. Very much so.
But I mean, I like them all. They just need to like be more.
Oh, same, yeah.
They just need to like be more calm, and then they not as messy. But I mean, it's only the first couple episodes,
yes.
So we'll definitely see that if it gets a little different, like in the upcoming episodes.
Yeah. Anyway, you talk about you talk about the next tribe while I order DoorDash because I'm hungry.
Oh, with Bessie.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bessie, over on the Bessie tribe, Dwight says this is the new era of Survivor, that they got to play aggressive from the jump, and there's a lot of new dangerous twists.
I would agree. I think playing aggressively is the way to go with the way the format is.
Definitely. He goes to look for any kind of advantages along with his other tribe mates. He talks with Jesse about the dynamics of this tribe. He feels Justine and Noelle are super close as well as Cody and NECA. Jesse says his tribe works well together and that they have a good sense of unity and teamwork, but at the same time, it seems tribal lines are getting clearer. He feels Dwight is on his own, so he wants to build that bond with him to make sure they are a tight pair.
Yeah, this edit really makes me feel like Jesse is going to go far. He kind of is in the center of everything. And I think he honestly really did impress me this episode, because it seems like Jesse so far is just kind of getting what he wants. And I think it's working out pretty well for him. I think Jesse is someone who I definitely can see being in a pretty powerful position within this tribe.
Oh, definitely. And I really like Dwight.
I like Dwight a lot too. Obviously, he's in a bit of a dilemma. He can't vote or anything like that. I think something Dwight is doing very well is recognizing that just because you can't vote doesn't mean you can't have some kind of influence. And I think that's something that Dwight is doing pretty well. But I also feel like he might possibly be hindered by the fact that he doesn't really have much agency on the tribe right now because he can't vote. So we'll see.
Dwight talks about how he feels he could rock with Jesse the entire game, but he also feels he has made good social bonds with everyone on his tribe, which he has been able to do ever since he was a kid. He says when he was in school, whenever there was an event nearby with political figures, he took the time to interview them and didn't have any fear to ask questions, which he feels is going to help him within Survivor, except for Cody, who he sees as a huge wild card.
Yeah, and I mean, I can definitely see why he sees him as like such a big wild card, but I think this immediately is like a big like conflict of interest between Dwight and Jesse, because Jesse, we'll talk about him a little bit, doesn't really see him that way.
Oh, for sure. Jesse talks about how much distrust Dwight has with Cody because of his lack of strategy, but he feels he is off on his own.
Yeah.
We see Cody talking about climbing up rocks and jumping off of them. Jesse sees him as someone who just wants to have fun, and by his ass tattoo is just living. What?
Yeah, because his ass tattoo literally says "livin'."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was so funny to me. Like, we cut from this moment of Dwight being like, Cody's a big threat, to Cody being like, I just want to jump off of things and climb in the water. Like, Cody's like just here to like just be a clown and have fun, and I'm here for it.
It's so funny. We see Cody talking. Oh, sorry, I read that. Jesse feels good with everyone on the tribe except for Justine. And he's really getting annoyed with her constant fear of spiders. But also sees her as a different kind of person. But at this point, they don't have to make a decision. And though he'd like to be in the same page as Dwight, it isn't of super importance knowing he lost his vote and sees himself in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't blame him at all for this. I feel like these two they're not really bonding in the way that they should. And I think you definitely see that becoming a bit of a discrepancy, especially when they both just have very different ways of looking at things. So I wasn't surprised that he wasn't really getting along with her.
Oh, definitely. Cody talks to Noelle and has been excited to do so, having gone through a similar struggle with his best friend losing his leg in high school, and a year later died of cancer. However, it progressed to him changing the way he lived his life.
So, like, in regards to Cody, like, I think that, like, I understand why they showed this segment. Obviously, it's important, but, like, this is what I was talking about before. It's like, there is a point where it's like, do we need to see all these sob stories constantly back to back? And this was just one that I think they could have left until a little bit later on.
I like that they did it, but I do like them spaced out as well. Like maybe maybe every other episode or something.
I just think it loses some of the like impact, you know, like it goes from being this really powerful story to just being like a bunch of sob stories.
Yeah, maybe kind of.
And like I thought we were gonna get something from Noelle here, but no, it just ended up being about like Cody and like his friend that he lost, which is sad, obviously, that he lost him. But again, it's something that I would have liked to see in like a later episode rather than so early on.
It'd be cool if they honestly, like if Cody and Noelle teamed up, it'd be kind of cool.
That'd be interesting. I don't really know how it would happen based on what happens in this episode. I don't really know how that would occur.
Interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I just don't really know how they would team up like after what happens in this episode.
Yeah, I don't know.
But we'll see.
Anyways.
Getting into Coco though here, once again, I think out of the three tribes, I just feel like Coco is the best strategically with everything we're seeing from them. So Carla sees their tribe as pretty united after dominating their immunity challenges, but when peeling back the layers, there's a clear divide. There's a 3-person girls alliance plus James, and that would leave Geo and Ryan to believe that she is a solid 3 with them, but she also feels that Ryan is very close to Geo. So Ryan and Geo are trying to break an almond open with a rock. They talk a bit about Geo's time in Peru and a memory he had of his grandparents' house with an almond tree. And Geo talks to us about how many struggles he has had in life. He always knew he was gay, and when he turned 18, he decided to talk to his parents, and he feels their dreams came crashing down because he wasn't the person they want to be, and he's always been nervous to tell his family ever since, very fearful that they were going to have the same response. And his parents have been constantly trying to change him, or they would make him leave the house. And this led him to go through a bit of a homeless stage. And there was a point in his life where he considered not continuing his life, but he tried to look at the positives and not letting anyone stop him from what he wants to accomplish. And that is how he is going to play the game. So Ryan feels like he and Geo have known each other since before Survivor because of how open they are to share anything. He feels that they can really take control and be a strong duo. And so it seems like Ryan and Geo are getting very close. And I do think Geo has a really good story of like him being homeless and, you know, him having these fears of not telling his parent, of not telling anybody else that he is gay and things like that. And he can be like very open with his tribe, and he can kind of tell that story very well. There just wasn't a lot going on with Coco this episode. It was very much just like these are the dynamics,
and they were just chilling and vibing.
Yeah, like these are the dynamics, and we will prepare for them whenever we go to tribal, if they end up going to tribal, because for all we know, they could be a tribe that never heads to tribal, but we'll see.
That's true. We'll see.
Yeah, so we get to the immunity challenge here. They are also playing for a reward, which is a complete Survivor fishing kit. Basically, Noelle is sitting out for Vessi and Carla is sitting out for Coco. Basically, for this challenge, they're going to swim to the edge of the gate. They then will climb up and untie a giant snake, which they will have to get through to the other side of the crate. They then have to get out of the water and push the snake to the end of the table. Once they have done so, they will have to build a puzzle. Ultimately, Baka and Coco win immunity, sending Vessi to tribal. This challenge was very grueling to watch, especially with like the snake. Like there was just no fucking way that I would be able to complete that.
It was a tough one.
Yeah, it really was. So Vessi goes to tribal. I think once again, probably the most exciting of the three. They had the most content going on in this episode, so it made sense for Vessi to be the one to go to tribal. But before we check in on Vessi, let's talk about Baka a little bit. There's some stuff going on with Baka here that Allie's going to talk about.
Okay. They celebrate with their fishing gear, and Janine feels this is crucial because the entire tribe has been on a diet of nothing but coconuts.
Which is crazy to think about.
Oh, I know. Ellie is very proud of herself with how she pulled that off growing up. She had ADHD and dyslexia, and what does that say?
Hmm?
And what does that say? And test chefs?
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Everyone.
It's supposed to say everyone.
Oh, maybe you.
Oh,
maybe you made
teachers.
Oh, and every teacher? That was supposed to
No, just teachers.
Oh. And teachers prior thought that there was something wrong with her and that she was lazy before being diagnosed, and everyone aside from her parents told her she wasn't going to do anything in life, even a doctoral degree. Shouldn't should, but completing the puzzle made her realize it was possible. I thought
Again, another effective story, but not something we needed in the same episode. This is what I'm saying. Like
I
all
thought
these
it was
stories,
nice.
Oh yeah, all these stories are important stories, but like they're
Mhm.
all in the same episode. Just spread them out, because after a certain point, it's like enough already with the piano music. Like we don't need to hear it constantly.
That's fair. Gabler is trying to help them catch some fish, but he has no experience with using a Hawaiian sling and is really struggling to use it.
This was so funny to watch. He like
I
didn't know what he
know.
was doing at all.
I think he's hilarious. Janine, Ellie, and Owen talk, and they are also happy that they likely will not have to worry about Gabler's idol, but are unsure if it will still be in play if they go to tribal next round. They want to look at the clue again to make sure that is the case, and they are hopeful it will expire.
Yeah, so this was really interesting because I feel like it was pretty obvious that like this idol is good for whatever two tribals Gabler attends, not the first two tribals of the season. That would be massively unfair
I
if
know.
Gabler didn't attend that tribal. So I feel like it was pretty obvious that's what it was, but it was funny to see all of them kind of like struggle as to what is this all about.
Yeah. Janine looks through his bag when others are swimming, which she always saw as weird, but now realizes it's a necessary deed. When she sees herself as an While she sees herself as an honest person, she knows all of this is called into question within Survivor. When reading it, they realize the idol will protect him within the next tribal he attends, especially if he plays it, and then throws Janine's name out there, or names out, she will be gone, and she realizes she's got to be super careful.
Yeah, I'm very worried for Janine, I gotta say, after this. I feel like Gabler, I don't know if he knows specifically that she's the one that did it, but I do feel like there's probably going to be some people that are going to talk around, and I feel like Janine could be in a bad spot moving forward, and I hope that is not the case. One, because I don't want all women to leave in a row.
I hope not.
Two, I like Janine, and I don't want her to go this early. So
yeah. Agreed. Same.
Yeah.
All right. Getting into Vessi. Everyone feels defeated.
Is a lot of the episode, which I will say, the fact they made this episode an hour and a half, I mean, it really gave us a chance to understand the dynamics of the losing tribe, and we really did get to see that with Vessi here.
Oh, I loved it. Everyone feels defeated because they lost the challenge. Cody thinks it's heartbreaking that they have to vote out someone from their Ohana. Cody talks to Jessie and says that while NECA really struggled in the challenge, she is right with both of them. And he feels people will be inclined to throw her name out, but is determined to make sure that doesn't happen. And then Jessie is very scared of Justine in this game.
Yeah, when it came to NECA, I mean, I think that if this was a tribe that wasn't as messy as Vessi is, that rhymes, messy, Vessi. If they weren't quite as like, just completely just like disorganized as they were, I think that NECA would have been probably the easier vote because she was the weakest in the challenge. But the thing about this tribe is they are playing significantly harder than Baka.
Oh, yeah. I honestly think this tribe is iconic because they're playing really hard, but it's really entertaining.
I think this is probably the most entertaining tribe. I would say Baka's the most entertaining, Coco's the most promising, and then Baka is the one where I'm like, I don't know how it's gonna go. Like I'm very in the middle with them.
Justine feels she wasn't pulling her weight, and Noelle also feels voting her out is the way to keep the tribe strong. NECA feels the vibe is very different after the challenge, and she doesn't feel she did well in the challenge and has an inkling about it. it could be her tonight. However, her, Cody, and Jesse are super close and hopes her relationships within the game are something she can count on.
Right, which is something that they really touch upon in this episode, is how close those three really are.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I don't see NECA getting super far. I just think mainly because I feel like Jesse and Cody have had so much more airtime, and NECA just hasn't. I just don't see her getting super far within this season. I mean, we'll have to see. But I don't see her getting farther than like one of the first like merge boots.
Yeah, she's someone I'm worried for.
Yeah.
Justine talks to Dwight and throws out NECA to him, and he says he just needs to make sure that Jesse is on board. Her game plan is to get NECA out. She is hoping without Dwight's vote, she can pull Jesse in, because if he's with them and NECA plays her shot in the dark, they can split their votes on Cody.
Right.
She's also gotten really good vibes from Jesse and that he's being so genuine with them. But there's an inkling that she may be getting played.
Yeah, and I think this was really smart from Justine, because something else that people are considering this season that they weren't last time is, well, if someone plays their shot in the dark and it's correct, you know, we got to switch the vote to somebody else. So I like that she has like this alternate vote plan of what's going on. The problem is you have Jesse, who's like super sketched out by her right now. And I do think some of that goes back to Cody planting the seed of like, you know, she's a salesperson. We got to be scared of her. Like, I think it kind of goes back to that a little bit. So yeah. So Cody talks to Jesse and seems like he wants to target either Justine or Noelle. Jesse tells him he's nervous about Justine and that while NECA is a challenge liability moving forward, Justine just is an overall bigger threat because of how smart and calculating she is. She also told him how good she is at lying, which makes her that much scarier, but he wants to get on the same page with Dwight. I do think that was a misstep with Justine. You should not actively tell people you are good at lying unless you yourself feel like really good with them. Like if she said this to Noelle, I think she would have been fine. It's the fact she said this to Jesse, who she mentions that she already is kind of like wary of. I think that's really coming to like bite her in the ass, because like, you know, they can use like anything against you in Survivor, and that's something that
she just told the wrong person.
Yeah, I think she really hurt herself there. So he goes to him and talks about the two pairs they're in the middle of. He brings up how he and his wife like to say that they are in the pineapple zone, where they talk openly and honestly with each other. At this point, like Jesse's wife is a character in the show. The amount of times he brings her up, it's like, Jesus Christ. But he tells him how threatened he is by Justine, and Dwight is still worried about Cody. He talks about how highly he has spoken of him. Jesse is troubled by how middling Dwight's response is to this, and he feels that he has other options, but doesn't have a vote, so it isn't as crucial. And this is not good for Dwight, I think.
No.
Because here's the thing. I said this before. Dwight is trying to have influence, even though he doesn't have a vote. I think the problem is Dwight is aligned with people who are not on the same page as him. And so the fact that Dwight doesn't have a vote right now, especially, is not great for him. I think Dwight just needed to get on the same page, and I think that he'd be in a good spot. But honestly, I'm really worried for Dwight moving forward. I think they could use the fact he doesn't have a vote as possible collateral to get him out.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I'm just not feeling great about Dwight right now, unfortunately.
I hope he doesn't get screwed over, but I mean, because I had such good vibes with him, but like now I'm just like worried.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I wasn't
be careful.
Yeah, I wasn't big on not that wasn't big. I just think that Dwight is kind of in not the greatest position here. So Justine goes to them and lets them know about targeting NECA, and then tells Jesse he is the swing vote. And I really like how she like openly is threatening him here. She's like, yeah, just so you know, like you're the swing vote here. You kind of control what happens. And Jesse does not like having this pressure on him. He really wants to get her out because of that. Dwight doesn't want Justine to go, though, knowing that her and Noelle, he will have a lot more options going forward. And while he has no vote, he wants to keep the tribe strong, which means NECA would, in fact, have to go. But again, he doesn't really get a lot of a say here because he doesn't have as much power as he would hope he does.
Yeah.
So, So basically, Jesse goes to NECA, lets her in on the plan to vote Justine out, asks if she's down for it. She seems like she's on board. And then Cody, meanwhile, is taking a walk to look for advantages. And he hasn't searched for idols because he thinks it's needed with them heading to tribal, even though he thinks it is like the kiss of death. So he walks up to a stump and he finds something. And it's a beware advantage. And I was very worried when we saw this at first. I was like, oh no, not more phrases. This is like this is gameable. Literally, all you have to do is just get everybody to say their phrase at the same time, and then it's activated. But
it's very different.
Thankfully, similar to the summit this season, there's a bit of a change here when it comes to the beware advantage, because the way it works this time around is he has what's called an immunity idol bracelet. But in order for it to have power, he's going to have to put his social skills to the test. Each of his tribe mates have one special distinctive bead attached to their personal bag. He must persuade each of them to give him their special bead, but how he persuades them is entirely up to him. He cannot steal a bead, but it must be willingly given to him by each player. And in order for the bracelet to have power, he must have the beads of every player at Tribal Council. If even one bead is missing from the bracelet, this idol is completely powerless and he cannot cast any votes at that Tribal Council, which really, I think, just adds like a hidden layer to this and makes this a lot harder to do. I think when it comes to the phrase thing,
I think this is such a cool idea.
One, we don't have to hear people say the most like inane shit like at during immunity challenges, because that's what usually happened in 41 and 42. Two, you really got to be like stealthy here. Like if this is handed to the wrong person, it could be a game-ending thing. And
I would be like, more bracelets.
Like it's very hard to it's very hard to pull something like this off, especially because you have to like willingly convince someone to like hand you their beads. So I think this is a really cool power. I'm glad that he's not telling anybody about it. It's much more exciting that way. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. I like this change a lot. So this now leaves him and Dwight without a vote. Justine and Noelle will be voting for NECA, while NECA and Jesse are going to be voting for Justine. And at this point, he thinks the beware advantage was a huge mistake. He thinks getting these beads is basically going to be impossible. And Cody talks to Jesse about the beware advantage. He doesn't think he can grab Dwight's bead. He's definitely in a panic about this. And Cody sneakily mentions the beads to the tribe by making a hat for tribal, which I thought was really funny. The way he
thought it was iconic.
He literally makes this whole hat out of like, what was it, like out of like bamboo or something like that. But Noelle says she uses her beads as bracelets and she wants to keep it that way. And Cody is very much hoping to have his votes at the tribal.
Noelle is me. I'd be like, yes, these are bracelets. I'm adding them to my collection.
She's gonna keep it that way. So Jeff asked Cody, we get to the tribal council here. Jeff asked Cody if he has the realization that it's on. He says, automatic guaranteed. 2 days ago, they won their first immunity challenge and they dropped it into the way of a lifetime. But unfortunately now someone is going to wipe out and have to end their survivor story. Justine says she personally thinks it could be her last night based on her and Noelle hitting it off immediately. Dwight and Jesse being in no man's land and they don't really know where they stand. And she thinks that NECA and Cody have also been hitting it off as well. So it breaks their 6 into 2-2-2. She also thinks she's the only person who hasn't really talked game or strategy with Cody, so it puts an extra target on her back. And I think this was Justine's mistake. I think she needed to capitalize on Cody a little bit more, not count him out immediately. Because I think had she had done that, I don't think Jesse gets his way as well as he does, because Jesse really was the person like trying to target Justine. It was very much she froze. Uh-oh.
baby. Hello.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think this definitely was a problem for Justine. I think she needed to not count out Cody as much as she did. Because I think if she doesn't, I don't think Jesse gets his way. Because this really was Jesse that was like pushing for Justine the most. And I think if she's like on better terms with Cody and she really like talks to Cody more and he starts to trust her, I think they could have maybe like made a move against Jesse possibly. And I think it would have turned like I think it would have turned out much differently, but unfortunately that is not the case. So yeah, so Dwight says that the strategy talks up until this afternoon have been very limited. It's difficult for him because of common knowledge that he lost a vote in a decision. Jesse says when he tried to build up relationships with people, he likes to go one-on-one and share his background. Nneka talks about her culture a bit, then she brings up the Beware advantage. Noelle talks about if there's any advantages and idols on the tribe. You're going to talk about the rest.
Oh, where were we at? Oh, there we go.
And
Cody says not having a vote can break up an alliance. And Noelle says no one did anything. Oh, wait.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Because we're at tribal. Oh, yeah. Cody says not having a vote can break up. You already read that part. Noelle says no one did anything wrong, but they got to keep the tribe strong because she doesn't want to sit there again.
Yeah.
Jesse says it's a big dilemma because they all make these bonds, but now they have to finally play the game. Cody tells us how before tribal, Nneka and Jesse were able to get the beads from Noelle to give to Cody, which he got in the nick of time before tribal and now has the idol.
Well, he doesn't have the idol, he has a vote.
Well, he has the vote. Because it said idol on the notes.
Yeah, well, I mistyped.
No, it's okay. Justine gets voted out with a vote. Justine sadly gets voted out with a vote of 3-1, with Nneka and Cody getting the other votes. Dwight seems very upset to see this happen and knows Jesse was behind it, who assures him they will talk later.
Yeah, that was a good moment where Dwight's like, you could tell Dwight was in shock and Jesse's just like, we'll talk later. Don't worry about it. So I don't really know what's going to happen there, but I do feel like Dwight and Jesse are probably not going to work together moving forward because of the fact that this happened. But also Dwight kind of needs people because he doesn't have a vote right now. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's going to be like very confused.
Yeah.
Justine says she got completely hoodwinked by Jesse, which sucks. He was very visibly playing both sides, and she feels sad about leaving this family, and she's rooting for them. Her dream was to be on Survivor, and she's going to take it for what it is. She had an amazing time out there, and she's so lucky to be on the show, so she's walking away with a smile on her face.
Yeah, I was very sad to see Justine go here. I think that she had a lot of potential within the game. It seemed like she was in a really like strong position. I saw people saying she was getting a similar edit to like Erica and things like that. Unfortunately, it does not seem like that was the case because she ends up leaving much earlier than anticipated. Kind of a disappointing boot order so far. But I do like the majority of this cast. I think in terms of this tribe, like Dwight is really in a bad spot now. Like I really don't see Dwight
getting sad.
Yeah. I feel like Dwight, I don't see him going next, but I do see Dwight being in a position where he's just not able to have like any real power in the game because of not having a vote and things like that. And then Noelle, I really don't know how this is going to go for Noelle because it seemed like her and Justine were pretty much like tied at the hip. And then we know that Jesse was kind of talking about like, should we go for Noelle or Justine first? And I'm hoping that Justine is not like, and Noelle is not the next target on the list, but it seems like right now, Jesse and Cody kind of have all the power. So we'll have to see how this really does go moving forward. but yeah, that's really all there is to talk about with these first 2 episodes. Yeah, heading into the rest of the season, I'm feeling pretty good about this cast. I do think there are some things that could potentially make the season a bit predictable. The fact that we have a lot of
I don't think it's going to be predictable.
Well, I'm just worried about like the girls' alliances and the guys saying that like they want to target them and things like that. I don't really want a girls versus guys thing. I'm hoping that's not what this ends up being, because that's not fun to watch.
No.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that's not the case. There's some people I hope we get to see a little bit more of. I do think there are some things that they could have not included in this season. I don't think we needed the like Savvy Sweat. I don't think we needed like the Summit and things like that. But there's still here a few too many like little sob stories and things like that that I think could have been not completely like erased from the show, but like just placed in different episodes. I think it would have just flowed a little bit better. But again, like we said right up front, the decision to have these episodes be both over an hour, I think was definitely the right one, because I feel like 2 episodes in, we really know these people very well.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, other than that, I think that's really all there is to talk about with these first 2 episodes of Survivor. Do we have things to plug, Allie?
Well, I will say this was definitely like the stronger episode of the 2 so far.
Oh, yeah.
And what we have to plug, well, stay tuned for applause.
Oh, that's not what I was going to.
Stay tuned for Applause Survivor. We're gonna be releasing stuff soon.
Yes.
And stay tuned for BB24 season review, our PLL season review, and of course like other stuff when we're finished them, like when we watch things and finish them and everything.
There's applause. There it is right there. Yeah, very excited for this upcoming season. It's going to be really fun. I think we got a new prod team and things like that, so I'm excited to see how it all does go. And yeah, like Ali said, we are going to do a BB24 podcast. Both of us are like very close to catching up. I literally have 1 episode left. I think you have a couple left.
I have a few more.
Yeah. And then we will be officially caught up. Well, not caught up because the season ended, but we will be done with BB24 and ready to do a podcast for that season. But other than that, that's really it for this video. As always, comment down below. Let us know what you guys are thinking about both episodes of Survivor 43 so far. Love to your thoughts on all of that. As always, special thanks to Julia for being here. I know she wasn't able to be here as long as we had hoped, but
yeah, she just had so much going on.
Yeah, we're glad we were able to get her for the time that she was here. But other than that, that's it for this video. And remember, couples who podcast together, stay together. See you guys